The PlayStation Store's mid-year sale is coming to an end, and before it does end, we want to once again go over 10 great games available for under $10. Now, we already covered 10 other games available for under $10, so check that video out if you haven't. You're going to have some other recommendations outside of these. This sale just has so many great deals, and a lot of great deals are coming at you very cheap, so we wanted to go over 10 more. So without further ado, let's get right into this. First up, we have The Vanishing of Ethan Carter for $5.99. This was a game that released all the way back in 2015, and it's a horror story-driven adventure. It's set in an open-world environment where you can roam around and explore at will. You have to solve all of these crimes, and visually, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter is a fantastic-looking game. Even being a little bit older, it originally released in 2014 back on PC, and while there are some shortcomings with the gameplay, it's not all too complex. I'd say overall as an experience, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter is a worthwhile purchase, and at $5.99, it's a great pickup.
He must be punished.
You're crazy. You've all gone crazy.
Next up, we have Matterfall for $7.99. This was the latest game from Housemarque. Housemarque is a studio that has done some fantastic PlayStation downloadable titles, including Super Stardust HD, Dead Nation, Nex Machina, and their most recent title was Matterfall. Matterfall is a side-scrolling shooter with platforming elements, and the real major complaint about Matterfall was the length. This is a rather short game. You can complete it pretty quickly, but the content in the game is an absolute blast to go through. If you're a fan of Housemarque's other stylish games, Matterfall is going to be right up your alley, and for $7.99, still a little bit on the expensive side, but I would say it's worth it. Next up, we have a game that many would consider to be one of the most disappointing PlayStation 4 games of this generation, and that is The Order 1886 down to $3.99. Yes, it was a disappointing game, but you have to remember this game released at $59.99, and the issue with the game is primarily its length. This game is very short. You can complete it in 4 to 5 hours, but there's actually some quality content in there. Yes, the gameplay isn't fantastic, but what is fantastic is the visuals. This is without a doubt one of the best looking PlayStation 4 games, and even being 3 years old, it holds up with the best looking games. The story is very interesting, and now that you're paying just $3.99 for it, it's absolutely worth it for that smaller contained experience. Unfortunately, with how poorly this game performed, we're probably never going to see a follow-up to it, and there was a lot of potential with the world that The Order 1886 created, but I just don't think that potential will ever be realized. Still, it's worth checking out for just $3.99.
What happened? Sentinel-3, I need air support. Look out!
Next up, we have a PlayStation 4 launch title, and that is Need for Speed Rivals for just $4.99. Now, Need for Speed is a franchise that has really gone to the wayside. The last few Need for Speed games have left a lot to be desired. However, the launch PlayStation 4 title in Need for Speed Rivals was very, very good. It really brings me back to how good Need for Speed Hot Pursuit was, and you've got some great weather effects in here, some intense gameplay, and if you like arcade racers, Need for Speed Rivals is gonna be up your alley. If you played the last few Need for Speed titles and those turned you off, go back and play Need for Speed Rivals, because this is actually a good one, and hopefully at some point we can see the franchise go back to what Rivals and games like Hot Pursuit set out. And for $4.99, you're getting a pretty deep arcade racing experience. Next up, we have The Evil Within for $9.99. Now, this isn't The Evil Within 2, and I will be honest with you guys, I think The Evil Within 2 is a far better game than the first title. However, The Evil Within 2 is also priced at $24, so starting off with the first game at a much cheaper price isn't a bad idea. This is still a very good horror game, and I've always said that Evil Within does a good job in capturing that atmosphere of horror, and the first title doesn't miss out on that either. What it does miss out on is a good narrative. That's much better in The Evil Within 2. The story in the first Evil Within is kind of weird, doesn't make a lot of sense, but if you want a quality horror experience on a little bit of the cheaper side, The Evil Within is a great pickup for $9.99, and you're probably going to enjoy it enough where you're going to want to pick up Evil Within 2 as well.
There's something wrong with this place.
Next up, we have Inside for $7.99. Inside was the second game by Playdead, who also did Limbo, which I think just about everybody played. That game was released on just about every platform. Inside was their second title, and you can very much see that Limbo influence in it. It's a very dark side-scrolling platformer, and thematically, it's exactly what you would expect. It's a very dark game, a very atmospheric game, and many would go as far as to say that Inside is a better game than Limbo, and that says a lot because Limbo was one of the best received indie titles of all time. Inside is a game that I know a lot of you guys have yet to check out. Maybe that's because the Xbox One version released before the PlayStation 4 version, and then the PS4 version didn't come out to much fanfare. But if you enjoyed Limbo, Inside is a game that's an absolute must-own, and for $7.99, why not? Next up, we have Lords of the Fallen for $5.99. Lords of the Fallen was developed by Deck 13, who more recently released The Surge, and much like The Surge, Lords of the Fallen is a very Souls-like experience. Now, is it as good as Dark Souls? I probably wouldn't go that far, but it's got those elements where if you want more Souls, Lords of the Fallen isn't a bad option. Now, bear in mind that this is Deck 13's first game. I would say they did a better job with The Surge, but that game still is pretty expensive. Lords of the Fallen at just $5.99. If you're itching for more Souls, if you're itching for it on the cheap, this isn't a bad option.
Mighty Antanas, I've found traces of a Rogar lord that was once known for his preoccupation with the physical world.
Next up, we have Furi for $9.99. Now, Furi is a game that is very enjoyable. It's got a lot of unique gameplay mechanics. It combines a lot of different elements. The only issue with this game, really, is the unforgiving difficulty, and the issue with the difficulty is that it kind of spikes out of nowhere. It's not like it ramps up in difficulty gradually. It just randomly gets more difficult, so that is a little bit of an issue that is going to turn a lot of people off. And if you don't have a little bit of patience, Furi is not going to be your cup of tea. However, if you like more challenging games, if you're okay with brutal difficulty, I think those people are gonna really enjoy Furi. It is at $9.99, which is still a little bit pricey. I do believe this was a PlayStation Plus title in the past, so a lot of you already might own it, but if not, it is a good pickup. Next up, we have another PlayStation 4 launch title, and that is Resogun for $4.49. Now, how about this? In a PlayStation 4 launch that include games like Battlefield 4, Assassin's Creed 4, Killzone Shadowfall, Need for Speed Rivals, so many gamers back in 2013 thought Resogun was the best game at launch, and Resogun is another game by Housemarque, so that goes to show how great of a studio Housemarque is, and Resogun is a very stylish shoot-'em-up. It's got some great visuals, awesome music, and if you like more fast-paced games, again, if you've played Housemarque's other titles, Resogun is an absolute must-own. For $4.49, it is a bargain. And lastly, I do want to give a mention to Final Fantasy VII for $9.59. Now, yes, the Final Fantasy VII remake is in development, but who knows when that's gonna be released. And honestly, I feel like playing through Final Fantasy VII and then playing through the remake again to see how the game changes and just be in awe and how they translate this game that was originally released on the PS1 to the PS4, I think that alone might be a more worthwhile experience than just experiencing Final Fantasy VII for the first time through the remake. I might be crazy about that, but if you're eager to check out Final Fantasy VII, if you want to see what all the fuss is about, this PlayStation 4 version doesn't revolutionize in any way. It's the original Final Fantasy VII experience with some minor tweaks. You do have trophy support, you do have a couple of other features in there, but this is the raw FF7 experience, and that raw experience is very good. Final Fantasy VII is widely heralded as one of the best JRPGs of all time, and definitely one of the most iconic with one of the best stories. So if you like JRPGs and you never played Final Fantasy VII, you need to remedy that ASAP. And $9.59, yes, a little bit on the expensive side, considering this is what, a 21-year-old game at this point. Still, for how quality it is, I would say it's worth it. So that's gonna conclude this video. 10 more deals as a part of the PSN's mid-year sale, under $10. All of these games are great value, all interesting experiences. While not the best games in all regards, with games like The Order 1886, you're only paying $3.99, and it's a game that I think a lot of you guys decided to skip out on because of the negative reception. However, at this price, it's still a worthwhile experience, and it was a pretty good game. It's just things like it was a $60 game. game, it was a 4-hour experience. That did really hold it back in terms of gaining a positive reception, but you get the idea. Sound off with your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.